Welcome to Ryerson University's Centre for Urban Innovation, a diversified research centre in downtown Toronto that exemplifies adaptive reuse of a heritage building in an institutional setting. Ryerson University serves more than 45,000 students in its compact facilities, which comprise approximately 3.5 million built square feet spanning 8 city blocks, or less than 50 acres. The institution has more than doubled its population over the past 20 years, but areas for teaching, research, and student life have not kept up with the pace of growth. Ryerson has been innovative with adding new spaces, often partnering with neighbors. The surrounding city has increasingly intensified with new residential units as well as office and retail developments. With escalating land costs and scarcity of nearby opportunities, the university's campus master plan outlines a vision for greater density on the existing lands, a vision that is both daunting and exciting. With scarcity of space and dollars, every movement of Ryerson's programs unlocks a series of decisions which often have an urgency that few institutions would recognize. There just isn't any room. Because of its circumstances, Ryerson has learned to integrate heritage buildings into its campus. These have ranged from small-sized to a little bigger. Here we see the former home of the Toronto Maple Leafs. In 2016, Ryerson School of Performing Arts moved to a new home, leaving a building that had been very well used, but was in need of a major overhaul. Originally built in 1886 to be Ontario's College of Pharmacy, the building underwent various changes in use and ownership, including a major addition designed by Page & Steele, before landing in Ryerson's hands in the mid-1960s. The oldest part of the building was the first purpose-built pharmacy faculty building in Canada. It had an innovative design for its day. The architect, Matthew Sherd, was from a prominent family, and he designed several important buildings that are now gone. At first, the building housed Ryerson's journalism school, but for most of the time until 2016, it was an enclave for learning dance, music, and theater arts. While imperfect in many regards, it did have character. In the 1970s, it was listed in the city's Heritage Registry. The chimneys were an important remnant of the passive ventilation technology of the late 19th century. As the university weighed its options for what to do with the building, some important considerations came to mind. Chief among these was its location. It is adjacent to low-rise and high-rise residential spaces. It had interior and exterior heritage attributes that required care and defied adding towering volumes. At the same time, Ryerson's earlier solutions for research spaces were outgrowing their useful lives and limiting recruitment of new researchers. It was time to establish a standalone research center. The first stage of work was to establish the program in usable areas. The university wanted to maximize density, but also wanted to be respectful of the heritage and the neighbors. This translated into a massing that would achieve a low scale to the north of the property while preserving key attributes in the oldest parts of the building, thereby leaving the east of the building for significant new spaces that would marry well with the adjacent property's height. Usable space nearly doubled to approximately 65,000 square feet. Program adjustments were being settled to determine not only who would fit, but how spaces would be shared. We see here some space testing that reveals an early recognition that ample areas would be shared, something that would promote mixing of research disciplines. As the project moved towards implementation, significant pressures were experienced as program requirements, budgets, schedules, and site limitations all jostled. Added to these pressures was, of course, the Heritage Conservation Plan. The result was a compelling, high-performance building with some distinct features. The newer 1940s facade was considered worthy of preservation, which became a key aspect to how the building's new plan was realized. It is only by reading the roofline that we can discern where the original 1886 facade and front door would have been. As the project advanced and demolition took place, significant discoveries were made in the building. Termites were more present than expected, and the original dedication slabs for the college were uncovered. An early exciting design feature was the creation of an atrium in the center of the site, joining the old to the new parts of the building. We see how the original brick wall contributes to forming an attractive space for meetings, contemplation, and presentations. You see here how the dedication slab have been incorporated into the finished work of the renovation, adding character and authenticity. Among the interior spaces that received attention, perhaps the greatest restoration efforts were paid to the large meeting space on the third floor. This also presented some design challenges, as it was not proportioned for current needs. At one time, this was the primary lecture space for the College of Pharmacy. Later, it was heavily used for dancing lessons by the Ryerson's theater program. The details of the ceiling were of particular importance, as was some attention to restoring the windows and doors, while also creating a space that is versatile for today's uses. Also inside the building were the original lab spaces, and we believe they continued to function until the early 1950s, when a new home for the college was built. These areas have been adapted for collaboration spaces, dry labs, and offices. It is the taller, newer parts of the building that now house the most technologically advanced spaces at the CUI. Here we find the vertical circulation spaces and the CL2 labs and other specialty areas. These are the areas that required more stringent design specifications and will likely need upgrades and overhauls, as is common for wet labs. Designers took care to include internal views within the building, enhancing connections between occupants. The exterior and open spaces of the building also underwent some significant changes for this project. In 2016, parts of the exterior were charming and highly prized by the neighbors, who enjoyed the greenery and additional room to let their dogs roam. But they were also places known for nuisance and illegal behaviors that Ryerson simply could not prevent. This led to some strong community support for transforming the parking area, and Ryerson's assurance there would be minimal new traffic or parking pressures on the residential street after the completion of the project. The finished design responds differently to each side. Low-scale solution to the north, a privacy-respecting arrangement to the east, a western face that is little changed from what was there prior, and a heritage-sensitive street face. For Ryerson, the realization of a standalone research facility was a milestone achievement that came with invaluable lessons regarding adaptive reuse of heritage assets, lessons that will be applied in future projects, to be realized in the fulfillment of Ryerson's ambitious vision for improving existing spaces and adding new high-quality spaces to support generations of students, researchers, and faculty. All of this in an inclusive and forward-thinking learning environment that demonstrates sustainability practices, respect for cultural heritage, and provides positive connections to the surrounding communities.